This is Miley Flanagan, the voice of Naruto, and you are listening to A.C.M.G. Presents Talk Time Live. Believe it!
Welcome to the show that gives you all the news, views, and opinions in the world of gaming. This is A.C.M.G. Presents Talk Time Live Extras Select Start with your host, Xavier Josiah. Power up and game on.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. This is A.C.M.G. Presents Talk Time Live Extra Select Start. I am your host, Xavier Josiah. Happy New Year. This is the first Select Start of the new year, people, and I am happy, first of all, to be alive during all of this right now. And it's funny I'm saying this, where it's like so much going on in 2018, and here's to hopefully a much better 2019. Hopefully we'll see a lot of change go on. Hopefully we see people become more uplifting, less negative. I mean, because 2018, let's be real, it really did a number on a lot of people, you know, in so many ways. And it's sad. I mean, I just looked online, particularly Facebook, and noticed how many shit posting groups out there and how much they are migrating into these type of group pages. And I don't really want to promote this per se, but like, it just shows how really jaded our society has come, and just not just from this country, just from around the world. And if you don't know what shit posting groups are, I mean, basically they're groups that it's groups that want to be very offensive, you know, post offensive things. And it's like the last, you know, basically how ultra sensitive everything is being today. This is the polar opposite. This is where you get these posts that, you know, if you're offended easily, you don't want to be in these posts. You know, in some cases, I get it. It's a way of expressing without being offended and still being able to enjoy things. And, you know, because comedians have been talking about this all the time, but it just, some of the things that I've seen in some of these pages are really, really offensive. Like really, really, really offensive. And it, to me, is sad. It's sad in the sense that I get it. If you talk about something a little edgy, that's one thing. But I think there still should be some balance within all that. And the fact that there are a lot of people who are just like so into, you know, the negativity of everything and not wanting to enjoy more positive things. I don't know, just me getting old in a sense, but it's just like, even back then when I was a kid, there was some form of like, all right, there was some form of rebellion, but it was also a balance of that too. You know, and as you get older, and maybe that's just the demographics, maybe it's a lot of kids in these posts or something like that. I'm on my grown man mode right now, so it's like that's a whole different case. But it just shows, like, it really just shows how jaded our community and society has become. And I just want to see a little bit of a balance. I don't want to see total change of one side to another. I want to see balance. I want to see balance enough that it allow people to be able to express and not be offended. And just, I want to see a lot of things. I wrote a list of what I want to see in 2019. It is about 16 things on there that I wrote on my post. And I pray that a lot of this results in a balance and some justice, some forms of justice be made out to those who are doing some wrongs in the world out here that are making this more jaded community and chaos out here. Because we need it. We need it out here. I'm really sick and tired of it. I'm one of the rare people that were like, if somebody's doing wrong, I'm not about them. I'm completely about it. I'm not one of those like sheep that are like, okay, he did wrong, but no, I have yet to eat at Chick-fil-A since the debacle. I knew there are people in the LGBTQ community that is still eating at Chick-fil-A, and I'm not. I'm like, no, I'm not selling out like that. I haven't eaten at Papa John's in ages because even though they did kick him out, and I'm really contemplating whether I should, but I'm keeping my eye on that. You know, I have my morals and grounds, and I think a lot of people don't these days, and I think they should. I'm not saying go full like, you know, Christian or anything, or just total for the sake of all good. Just find a balance where it's like, you know, the moral and ethics of things, you kind of got to stick to your guns, be strong enough to stick to your guns. And I hope we do see that in 2019 and more. Other than that, rest in peace, Super Dave Osborne. And I used to love that guy. I forgot his name, his real name, but I always remember him as Super Dave Osborne on the Showtime shows. Those are some of the most hilarious. If you can, some way, somehow, go out of your way to find that show. And the cartoon that used to come on, too. Because he had a cartoon that wasn't nowhere near as edgy as the Showtime show that he had that came on at night. But I was a kid watching that at nighttime, and I was crying to sleep at night watching that show. And he ended up being, the actor wound up being in Curb Your Enthusiasm as well. So he was awesome. He was awesome. Rest in peace. Died at the age of 76. As well as Mean Gene Okerlund. Both of them on yesterday. What's today's date? Today's the 4th, right? No, the 3rd. Yeah, just yesterday. They both passed away. It's so sad. Mean Gene Okerlund, whether you're a wrestling fan or not, you do know the name Gene Okerlund. He's that big. He is possibly one of the most influential and important people in wrestling history. One of the best interviewers ever. The most prominent and professional interviews ever, to the point that you don't see none of that anymore in WWE. Like, they don't even allow their commentators and interviewers to do the same format as Mean Gene Okerlund. Mean Gene came off as very professional and very sports-like. And he was always a great character. I mean, everybody remembers him from the infamous, tag team with Hogan and him, and when they tag teamed, and he was on a lot of things, man. He'll be missed. They'll be all missed. So, and also died at 76. Really crazy. Also, one of the members of Captain and Tennille also passed away, I heard too, and also 76. So that saying that it all comes in threes, it's real, man. It's definitely real. So hopefully this will not be another, what was it, 2017, I believe it was, or 2018 it was, where a bunch of celebrities were passing away. I really hope that's not the case, because that was daunting. That year was daunting. I think it was 2016, if I remember. But it was very daunting that year, so I hope we don't get another one of those. But nonetheless, I digress. We're here to talk video games. Not only video games, we're here to talk about last year's video games and the games that I feel that was the best experiences I had in 2018. We had a lot of games. I just realized, I looked at my my Nintendo Switch log. I got over 70 games that I've played. Some of them, a lot of them I reviewed, if not all of them I reviewed on this show, and it's unreal which I played. I don't know. Wonder if I'm going to beat that record this year. I don't know. I really don't know. I know the first new game I'm going to play and review very soon around my birthday, which is in January the 14th, which is coming out on the 18th. A lot of things are coming out this month. This is Dragon Ball Super is coming out this month. Unimusha is coming back to games and is going to be on the Switch. I'm going to review that soon too as well. There's a ton of other games that are coming out soon, and it's going to be crazy. A lot of premieres, glasses coming out. I mean, just so many things. Just found out, just announced yesterday in Japan that a new Dragon Ball Super or Super Dragon Ball Heroes game will be coming to the Nintendo Switch in April. Now, April 4th to be exact. Now, they said that it's going to come out in April in Japan. That doesn't mean it's going to come out in the U.S. And it will most likely come out in the U.S. Normally, there's only I think at least 10% of games, less than 10% of games that don't come out into the U.S. that are in Japan. I know they got a bunch of Super Sentai games that are in Japan that are not coming here. We finally got a Dynasty Warrior game coming very soon to the Switch, which they had a ton of them there. So I don't know if those games will eventually come out to the U.S. as well. But Samurai Warriors, Extreme Legends Samurai Warriors is coming out in about a week or so. I think, in fact, this week or today. In fact, it may be out. So you got that to look forward to if you're a Dynasty Warrior fan or fan of those Dynasty Warriors hack and slash games. So you got that. I mean, there's so much coming out. A new the Blaze Blue, the recent game is coming out for the Switch as well, coming soon. It's already out on the PlayStation. I was waiting for that game to actually go down in price, and I don't know, for some reason it's not. It's not like it's a best-selling fighting game at all. It's just a game. It's another great Arc System Works game, in the Blaze Blue, Blaze Blue or Blaz Blue, whatever the hell they want to call it. I have had discussions with Elijah McKinnon in our Facebook group who claims that it's pronounced Blaz Blue. And I've swore to goodness I heard on the anime that they say Blaze. So it's up for discussion on that note. But it is coming out. It's the recent one that came out, the sequel to that, which never got any promotional play. It just came out of the blue, and that was that. There was no hype for this game or anything. I was very surprised. Not only that, I'm surprised they didn't lower the price of that game right now, and they're not lowering the price of it on the Switch either. It's like 15 gigs big, and I don't know what they're doing. I am going to eventually get it because it's going to be on the Switch, and it's going to be convenient for me to play it on there with the handheld features and everything. So I'll eventually bite for it, but they should have lowered their price. It shouldn't still be $50. I guess they're still trying to get up, but when you don't hype a game, it's not good. They hyped Dragon Ball FighterZ way more than they did their own franchise, which is weird. And it is what it is, but I'm sure it is. It's going to be a great game. And not only that, Blaze Blue Cross Tag Battle, if I'm pronouncing it right, actually became one of the nominated games of the year, and this thing is just sitting in the shadows. I don't get it. I do not understand why. And I'm pretty sure this later version, or this sequel, from a technical standpoint, is much better in gameplay than that one, because that one was a little bit more like user-friendly button mash type of combo style. So that's just weird. It's very weird how they went about that, but it is what it is. But we got a chance to, I went over some of the games that I've played and reviewed this year, and I'm going to go down to talk about the top 10 and the honorable mentions, which is about 5 of them as well. So let's go down with this. I mean, the first one I want to talk about, Dragon Ball FighterZ. It was nominated, won for Best Fighter of the Year, extremely well deserved, and now moved over to the Nintendo Switch. Perfectly translated, I might add. It's the fighting game we've all dreamed of playing because we didn't get a chance to play the Japan version, the Super Budokan versions, or the other ones that came. If you weren't an importer like myself and others, if you didn't go out of your way to buy imported games and get the chip or get the cart, the cartridge that allowed you to emulate a cartridge or whatever, you may have not ever got a chance to play any of those really cool Dragon Ball games from the Super NES and the Genesis and all the stuff from back in the day. But this was the absolute first really good, and I say first really good because I love the Budokan games from the PlayStation era and the PlayStation 2, but this felt like the legit deal, the major impact that we were waiting for, and you couldn't have been happier. And especially if you owned a Nintendo Switch, because they gave you, if you pre-ordered, they gave you their original Super Budokan Super NES game that I still have the hardest time to play and learn how to fight, because they just gave it to you. There's no directions in there at all. It's like, here's an extra. They really troll you on this, because I just never got a chance to figure out how to play it. It's very hard. And if I try to go to GameFAQs or any of that stuff, it's so tedious, especially in this day and age, to try to find a good instruction book for this and for regular pro wrestling. I recently got Nintendo Online, and I've been playing pro wrestling, and that game also, it's like I'm already at near the end to get to Great Puma, but they are so cheap and hard. I need a turbo button. I need a turbo button to beat that game. Where are can Nintendo come out with a Joy-Con with a turbo feature? I'm serious. I would go after that in a second for some of these old games that are really stiff and cheap like that. But, Dragon Ball FighterZ was definitely the hype of fighting games. It even beat, for the first time ever, it knocked Street Fighter V out. Street Fighter V has been reigning for a lot. Even in EVO, it's been reigning, but it was known as the most popular game in EVO that people registered. I think more people registered for that than they did for Street Fighter V. But Street Fighter V was highlighted as the top game for EVO, of course. And I'm interested in seeing what they're going to do next year. I'm also interested in seeing if Arc System Works is going to do a sequel to this. They really have to in this case. It's very successful. And again, with that game only being like 6 gigs big, that's extremely impressive for a fighting game to actually have so little and give you so much and beat a whole bunch of different fighting games that came out, including like Soul Calibur, which unfortunately didn't live up to people's expectations at the end, and damn near not mine. Especially, I've mentioned this before when I talked about it and reviewed it, and it was like, this doesn't have the means of what I played in Tekken. You know, Tekken gave you the full feature, you know, celebrating everything that was about it and had full cutscenes and everything. This thing barely had any of that in there. It just had like gameplay. It just wasn't enough. It's not worth it, in my opinion. So I mean, it's just, you know, for this game to actually do what it did, highly commendable. It's beautiful to look at, stunning. I still have the argument. If I wanted to say which Dragon Ball games is better, I am still inclined to say Xenoverse is better. And I'm only saying this because, it's unfair in a sense, because one is a melee game, sort of, kind of, but it's still kind of a fighter. But the other one is a legit fighting game. But as far as the fanfare, Xenoverse is still giving you free stuff, whereas fighters, you know, they haven't done anything. We just recently got a pack that included all of the characters from the new Dragon Ball Super Broly movie that's coming out in America soon. It's already out in Japan. People have already praised it who got a chance to see it. But yeah, the fact that they're still giving you after all this time, and it has so much fanfare continuity in there and the ability to create your own avatar character, you know, it's hard to argue whether the game is. You just have to be. It just comes down to, like, are you a fighting fan or not? You know, or what kind of a fighting fan are you? You know, so there's that situation right there. But definitely, that's one of my first picks of the best of 2018. The next one, because this one is one of my favorite, near dear to my heart, and I think, in my opinion, I know there's some hardcore Mega Man fans out there, and shout out to Mega Ran out there, and I know a few others who are big, you know, fans out there. But Mega Man 11 is considered, for my taste, the best Mega Man game I've ever played, just on visuals alone. The presentation, I really enjoyed it. It was it could be easy to play or challenging. They allowed it to be whatever you wanted to be. But I felt it did a really good job. It was just very beautiful. It was the Mega Man game we were waiting for a very long time, and it's great to have him back. And I absolutely loved it. Now, I interviewed Mega Ran back in Keystone Comic-Con, and he was definitely, you know, a little skeptical about the visual part because he likes the retro. And I agree. The retro is great, but part of what made me love Mega Man so much was the illustrations and the character design that Keiji Inafune has done. And even though this is not Keiji Inafune's art style in here, it's still phenomenal to look at. And you know, watching those illustrations on the instruction books by Keiji Inafune and now this guy, it always encouraged me. It inspired me to want to be an artist, or to be more of an artist than I already was, by seeing stuff like that. And I used to create and, you know, sketch out characters of my own and almost like that same fashion, because I loved the way he did the eyes, loved the way the body, you know, design looked like and stuff like that. And it's just really cool, simple stuff like that. So to me, to see all of that really come to life, because when I used to play the old games back in the day when they originally released, and I used to look at the book, I used to really want the book to come out to life to look like this, and now we got it. The same with Dragon Ball Z and all those other anime games. When you got like an anime game like Ramno 1/2 or, you know, Yu Yu Hakusho, and you knew eventually, I think, or I can't speak for everybody, but I knew as a kid that eventually we would get to a point that it would look like this, and we would be playing games that look virtually like cartoons. We first saw that when Arc System Works did Guilty Gear, you know, Zard, and that really set the pace. I'm like, it really feels like I'm controlling a anime character, a cell-drawn character come to life in my control. That's what it felt like. And now they use that technology to make Dragon Ball Fighters, and now we get to see stuff like this, like everything that we see now that our instruction booklets are eventually coming back to life, are coming to life in our eyes, visually, emotionally. It's awesome. I absolutely love what they did with this being my best one. I still wish that they would have came out with the there was a Mega Man actual sort of a Mega Man fighting game. I believe it's called Power Battle. In arcades. I played it once. I played it for the Neo Geo Pocket. The Neo Geo Pocket actually had a version, a 8-bit version of it, and then somehow, some way, I managed to find an emulator, an emulator game version of it where I got to play it there. It was really cool. And they tried to kind of do that in Mega Man 11, but not to that extent. It was really cool though. My third. Without a doubt, I got excited when it was announced in 2018, and the fact that it was coming in the same year, I was all hyped for the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. I am still playing it. I have literally beat the game, the full game. I beat the entire game full. All 3 endings are in there, and I cleared it for the first time, and I'm still playing it. They got New Game Plus in there. I'm playing through it all over again, and I am not tired of this game yet. If I'm not playing on my PlayStation 4, if I'm watching TV with my wife, at times I'm still gaming on, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. It's a very fun game to play. I absolutely enjoy it. It's really cool. I love the game to death. Everything about it. I'm still collecting items as we speak too, because just because you beat the game completely doesn't mean you collected everything. So all 800, songs, I still looking for those. And the cool part is the songs that they got, the licensed songs that they got for the games is unreal. I mean, I talked about this a while back. The fact that they had the Sonic Adventures game that was so awesome for the Sega Dreamcast, that spoke volumes to me, man. So I mean, this game, I wish Super Smash Brothers came out before the Game Awards, because I think it would have been a strong case that might have rivaled, Dragon Ball Fighters for Fighting Game of the Year. But it came out the very night of the Game Awards, which was awesome in a sense too. But it was, I absolutely enjoyed. I love this game. It is literally the ultimate Super Smash Brothers game. There is no game prior to that is better than that game. That's the honest to goodness truth with that. So, and the fact that the storyline, the whole storyline thing is really cool. I mean, it made sense of everything in there, and I absolutely love it. Lots of options to play. Just the game, with the replay value of the game is just astounding. Absolutely. So, the fourth one I'm going to add is Let's Go Pikachu. Well, let's just say Let's Go series, period, because no matter if you have Eevee or Pikachu, you're still getting the same game experience. There's nothing too different. But playing through the game, which is really a love letter to the original Red, Yellow, and Blue, it's really fun. It was really fun to play. I enjoyed it. They added a lot of things that we wanted to add on there and made it the complete version of those 3 games that we wanted. Adding Team Rocket, the original members, Jesse, James, and Meowth of Team Rocket in there, which they didn't really do before those games came out. It was really cool. So it really felt like the actual original, game or the anime come into game form. So, I mean, it was really cool. I don't think I've actually gone back since Super Smash Brothers, but I did get pretty much all the major legendary Pokemon. I got Mewtwo. So, I mean, it's really fun to play. Hopefully they'll add some more, things to it to make people come back to it. But I think that may be it for now until they actually come out with the newest game. But I felt it was a great thing. I really, honestly, I do wish that they go back to, what was that? To the battling portion of it too. Because, I mean, there's some things like battling the actual Pokemon instead of just trying to catch them. In a sense, I liked it, but some part of me was like, okay, it's a little diluted from the other experience, from the original experience, but actually, I enjoyed the game. It's not. I don't think it's one of the best Pokemon games I've ever played. I think that goes to Sun and Moon or Y and X. Those were really, 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 really great games. If you guys haven't played it, but if you're a Pokemon fan, you obviously played it on the 3DS. Sun and Moon, X and Y, phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. I love those indeed. My fifth game is a game I still haven't really beat yet. It's one of those games I gotta take a break from and go back. But Dead Cells is an absolutely awesome, well-deserved, award-winning game. If you have not played Dead Cells, it is unbelievable. And I think if I go back in time to the episode of where I reviewed it, I believe one person made this game, if I'm correct. No, it was another game that won. I forgot what game that was. I don't think one person made this game, but this game, there was a team that made this game, and there was another game that was out in the past that one guy played. It was like a Metroid game. I forgot the name of it. One of the 70 games that I own. But Dead Cells, absolutely awesome Metroid, Castlevania-like game. What they've done with it is enigmatic. You're not playing the same game twice at all. Even when you die and when you come back, you're not playing the same game. It's crazy. I think I'm at a point where if I get back on it now, I can probably have the urge to actually beat the game, because it does get a little slightly easier every time you play it. But it's beautiful to look at. It's a work of art. This is one of those games that are clearly a beautiful work of art that you got to take a look into the industry of the game. Is it more profit? Is it more market? Or is it an art form? This one proves that it's an art form right here. So I definitely give it that. The next game, I would absolutely surprised that I'm saying I'm adding this on, because I swear I'm so jaded with this and cynical with this franchise that I never thought I would give it praise ever again. WWE 2K19 has blown me away as a wrestling fan and a gamer. They did everything right that we wanted them to do, and I mean, honestly, I was very, very satisfied. I'm still satisfied, especially after playing, getting a chance to play some of the other games that I've played. I still come back to this game. The creativity is there. It's on point. It's not a perfect wrestling game. I don't think there is such thing as a perfect wrestling game, but in my opinion, this is the best of the best. And as much as I love Aki and I still praise Aki, I think if the Aki engine would have come back in this day and age, it would have evolved into something so phenomenal. And I'm still mad that that's just hanging on a shelf. That formula is hanging on a shelf, just collecting dust somewhere. But I think, with all due respect to Aki, the Aki engine games, WrestleMania 2000, Virtual All Pro, 1 and 2, and games like that, and No Mercy, of course. This one does it. This one, the story mode was phenomenal. The story mode was absolutely, and trust me, this is not the game of the year. This is not a game of the year game. It is a huge improvement, self-improvement for the franchise, for the company of 2K and Ukes. And it's among the best wrestling games out there. Absolutely the best wrestling games out there. Like the best 2K game that they had, even the best THQ game that Ukes has ever done to this day. They managed to really, fix a lot of things, but I mean, it's, again, still not the perfect game, but for a wrestling game, this is, no pun, phenomenal. Wrestling fans don't understand what that means. But, this goes, I couldn't deny it. This goes up as one of my actual picks for the best games of 2008. And it's a late entry, so I mean, because I remember I said that I wasn't going to buy it until it goes down in price as a means of protest for what they did last year's game with the Nintendo Switch. And I still hold them to that. And with that said, I hope that they will figure out a way to bring that franchise back to the Switch and correct the mistakes that they made on the now playable 18. Not perfect by a long shot. There's a lot of things that needs to be done, but they need to fix that. I would really like to see a 2020 on a Switch, and that they really perfect doing that right. The frame rate And now, all things considered, the frame rate is atrocious, but it's still playable. Very slow paced, and I really hope that they do it, because you got all these other games with the same memory capacity as that game, but runs much better. So there's no excuse. It has nothing to do with the Switch. It has nothing to do with the system or the hardware. It has a lot to do with how they put it together. And they bombed. And they won't admit it to this day that they bombed, but they bombed. Plain and simple. But 2K19, a big comeback for them for just wrestling games, period. Big comeback. I just wish that it was able to be they were able to do that on a Nintendo Switch, but it is what it is, and at least I get to play and experience a really good wrestling game at that. So, number 7, without a doubt, as a fan. And by the way, the selections that I'm picking aren't in any order whatsoever or any hierarchy. These are randomly picked. Like, there's a number 1 game within all this that's not in number 1. But if I was to say that my number 1 game it would be this. And that is Spider-Man for the PlayStation 4. The day that they announced that on E3, rest in peace to Sony, by the way, because they won't be in E3 anymore to do such great announcements like this. But this announcement, when they announced this, blew everybody away. We were waiting for this to happen, and we weren't disappointed. We were by far not disappointed. Before Into the Spider-Verse, people were actually saying that this was the movie we wanted to see in Sony. And this game is absolutely... It really feels like the third movie from Amazing Spider-Man that they wanted to come out with. Only it had a better Peter Parker and Yuri Lowenthal in there. And... It was so great. I've played that game twice. I've just played through the third Silver Lining one. So I mean, went through all that. The suits, the DLC suits that they came out with, including the Eric Larson, robotic cast suit that I so much enjoyed. You talk about fanfare. If you're a Spider-Man fan, you cannot be any happier with what they provided you as a Spider-Man fan. This is the greatest Spider-Man game of all time. Absolutely enjoyed it. I was absolutely floored by this. And man, I am looking forward to seeing the beginning of a great trilogy of games from them, if not more games from them. I hope it's just a trilogy. It just needs to be a trilogy. But they're definitely doing another one. There's no doubt. I mean, Miles has to be in the other one. They were teasing the hell out of us about that, and it's no doubt he's going to be in the other one in full form. So I'm looking forward to that. But Spider-Man PlayStation 4 was probably my best adventure game ever. Even better than the said Game of the Year game, which surprisingly is Game of the Year game, and that's God of War. And I'm only saying surprisingly because God of War always gets Game of the Year nods. It's not the first time they got a Game of the Year nod. It's not, but considering we had Spider-Man PlayStation 4 out, we also had Red Dead Redemption that everybody was screaming about. Surprisingly, God of War got it. Now, I love this game. I do love this game. I'm a big fan of God of War fans. Of course, we had, T.C. Carson, the original voice of Kratos, and here who I believe should get all the respect for helping this franchise get to where it was. He was a big part of that. His voice, his talents helped really convince people that Kratos was the original badass. But now, they got, I believe his name, Mike Judge. I believe. No, it's not Mike Judge. That's the guy from Family Guy. Forgot the new actor's name, but, he's getting famous just for saying one damn word, which became a running gag to everybody. So it was really funny that they did it, but he did a phenomenal job as well. But the game, the way the gameplay and everything was, I wasn't particularly a fan of it per se, but it doesn't mean it didn't tell a phenomenal story. I think the strength of the game was its story. The story was absolutely phenomenal, picking up after the events of, all three versions, all three, parts and the extras and everything. But, I felt that it was really well done. And they teased the hell out of you when it came to the Blades of Chaos, because I was like, yeah, it's okay, but fighting with an axe, I'm not too thrilled. Let me tell you, I mentioned this before when I reviewed it, but when I found out that he was going to be using the Blades of Chaos, that's when I woke up, because majority of the actual show, I'm not the show, the majority of the game, when I was playing with the axe, I was kind of like less enthused. And I swear to goodness, when that scene where he broke in and got the Blades of Chaos, I immediately woke up, and I seriously, as a gamer, I got so excited for playing it, because now I know he gets to do all this cool stuff with I don't think I even used the axe after that. But, they made you, there were times where you had to use the axe for certain things. But I tell you, man, I love him in the Blades of Chaos. That's a part of his being. The axe was kind of a throw off from it. But, man, I woke right up with it. And you got to do a lot more things with those weapons, too. So that's when the game actually got much better for me there. But overall, the story was phenomenal. It was hot. I just think if I pick the better, looking back at this years from now, if you pick which God of War game I think was the best, me personally, I still go to 3. I go to 3. And we'll see. It'll all come back, because we'll see where this series is going to turn out to, and where he's going to go to. And it looks like it could possibly be that he goes after his son in some cases too, with the idea of him being Loki and everything. So we'll see about that. But the climax of him going after his father, Zeus, was the ultimate. I still say that was the best of the best, because you had to go through like 2 games. After playing the original God of War game, you went through 2 other games on the PlayStation, and then after that, you had 2 like sort of side games, and the ones in a PSP, which were also great as well. And it was just unbelievable that when you finally got up to God of War, first of all, the end of God of War 2 made you wait so badly because of how it ended, and then it was just personification of epic. And then part 3 did not disappoint at all. It was absolutely phenomenal. It was like going to see the Return of the Jedi in some cases, and then the payoff of being able to kill Zeus and the aftermath of that was just, I was like, I got everything I needed here. This is one of the greatest trilogies ever. I mean, like, it's kind of put Unimusha's trilogy down away. Which at one point that was considered one of the greatest gaming trilogies ever. God of War took that and took the baton of that at the time. So, God of War definitely, you can't say that, there's no way I could deny God of War regardless. It was a great game. I had a great time especially near the end. And look forward to seeing what they do next with that. Here's another shocker of a game. We're going to go back to sports, because this was another game that I kind of protested. Again, I wasn't going to get this unless it was a certain amount because of what they did on the previous one. I'm giving EA UFC 3 my nod of the top 10, and this is number 9. I was extremely surprised. Before I even got WWE 2K19, they got this up for like $17. And considering everything that the UFC has been doing, I still consider myself an MMA fan. I'm not exactly a UFC fan these days, especially with all the controversy that they've been going through with John Jones and the decisions that this new regime, after the Fertitas sold the company to the UFC. I am not a fan of, from a moral and ethics standpoint, I'm not a fan of UFC right now and all the things that they're doing and who they're advocating to and supporting. I'm not with it. I don't know if this is, I don't want to be political about it. Dana White is friends with Donald Trump, and I don't know if those influences are kicking into that company, but it's some really dumb crap happening, and they're not seeing, there's no sight of change at all anytime soon with it. With that said, the game itself has also made a lot of great improvements, including the microtransaction thing, which really, really, really pissed a lot of people off last year. And there was not nearly enough options or anything to play. The career mode was kind of, stank in some cases. And, it was just, I really hadn't, I felt like I wasted my money playing that game and them trying to juice me for more cash. I wasn't trying to hear it. This one was not the case. This one was much better. The fighting was much better. The career mode was much better. Creating your own character is still, EA's never been, that's never been EA's thing. Their creative suite has never been the best. But this one is actually an improvement for them than it was before. Like, if you want to go for creative suites of games, depending on where you are, if you're an anime fan, Dragon Ball is your deal. Jump Force apparently may be your deal too when that comes out this year as well. So looking forward to that. So, you got that going on. But if you're not a wrestler fan, but you're a creative fan, you gotta give 2K credit. I mean, they've always been the best. They're ones that really kind of revolutionized the whole entire thing and became the format to what everybody's trying to be like. And when it comes to creation, creative suites like that. But overall, it's a much, much better game experience than I ever played before in any of the EA UFC games. And I just slightly almost rivals Undisputed 3 by THQ, but it kind of doesn't, because the only thing that really messes them up with that is the fact that Undisputed 3 had the Pride mode. And the Pride mode, Pride mode was the best. You get to fight in, Pride FC, Pride Fighting Championships from back in the day, and you got to fight in their rules, which means you could kick somebody in the face of the ground doing a soccer kick or whatever like that. It was just brutal as hell. But it was a lot of fun to play from a video game standpoint, and playing as Wanderlei Silva and all that stuff, and Rampage Jackson and all that, and Anderson Silva from back in the day. It was crazy. It was just utterly crazy in there. But again, man, it was a great game experience. I loved it. I do still play it on occasion. I already went through it already, but I have a good MMA game finally to play, of recent time. So that's awesome too. The last game I have considered for the top games of my 2018, Street Fighter 30th Anniversary Edition. This game celebrated everything that was the game that led to a whole entire genre and celebrated all of that. It's the ultimate historical continuity that you could have as a fighting game fan. It has everything you need to learn about everything that you want to know about the game that started all of this craze. The game that actually created jobs for kids of this new generation who want to be e-gamers. It started because of this game. And, tournaments that started from this game. People would not be employed if not for Street Fighter. Celebrating the 30th anniversary of this was awesome to see. And, I love what they did with it. It's a great museum of games. 17 games of every single game up until 4 is in here. And not only that, the reason why I even picked this game more than anything is because it allowed me to finally beat Street Fighter 1, one of the hardest games I've ever played, or the hardest games period ever to beat. And that was a turning point for me, just as a gamer. I was like, wow, I defeated I know there are tons of people out there that it has defeated, but there's also a lot more people who have not. It is not an easy game to play. And the fact that I did not give up on this game and continued to try and finally got it, that was a gaming bucket list thing to do. The other one is probably beat Pro Wrestling, because I never beat Great Puma, and I'm still having a hard time with that. So that might be the top of the hardest games ever to play in my mode. But that was near and dear to me because I love the Street Fighter franchise. I feel like I paid it respect to Capcom, to everybody who put it together. To Ono himself, Yoshinori Ono. I loved it. I beat that game. I looked at the autograph signing of Yoshinori Ono and everything and bowed to it. So, that initially is my top 10 games of 2018. I do have some honorable mentions that I want to play because a lot of these games came out in 2018, but were already games that already came out. So I didn't want to give it too much praise because I wanted to give games that came out this year that released for the first time this year, but honorable mentions definitely Bayonetta 2, because I never got a chance to ever play that game when it was out on the Wii U, and I don't think a lot of people got a chance to play it when it was out on Wii U. I think it got a lot more sales than it ever did on the Wii U in this case. Awesome game. Absolutely awesome game. Well done, well deserved, beautiful to play. Need to play that again. It was really, really, really fun to play. I also need to get a new damn card. Because those cards, man, I'm already at like 200 out, I'm already filling up to 400. They need to get that terabyte up and ready right at 512. It's insane. But Bayonetta 2 was a lot of fun to play. I enjoyed it. Beautiful. Sega, one of Sega's best. One of Sega's absolute best, and that they came out with. You can't go wrong with that as well. Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm Trilogy, which was already out on the PlayStation and the Xbox, ended up making it on the Switch as well. Beautifully perfect translation of it, of one of my favorite anime characters and one of my favorite friends ever. So I actually got a chance to check that out as well and enjoy everything. I do go back and play that every so often, mostly because of the just bias basis at best with that, but also it's just a great game. And now with the recent Naruto game that they came out with, it didn't leave. People are not happy with that game. I feel bad. I feel really bad about that because they made it an online heavy game, and I think they learned a lesson. I think they really learned a lesson. They needed to do something a lot more with that, and unfortunately they didn't. Hopefully they'll move over to Boruto, and that way, they can get back in the swing of things with that and do a Boruto Ultimate Ninja Storm. And Molly and Amanda can really get to jump back on there as well. And that's the other thing too. For the first time ever, this was I believe, was this? No, I think this was. I think they voice work. Somebody has to tell me if they did voice work for. I don't think she did. I think we talked about that, and I think she didn't do voice work for Naruto, or Amanda didn't do voice work for Boruto in that game. So, I mean, that was a whole other thing, too, with that. So, you got that, too. This is one that I really never mentioned, but technically this will be a review right now, and that's Fire Pro Wrestling World. I finally got a chance to get my hands on this, and they finally put it on sale, by the way. So, I got a chance to get on this. And I was actually waiting for whether it goes on sale on the PlayStation Network or it comes on to the Nintendo Switch. I'm still waiting for it to come on the Nintendo Switch. It's only 5 gigs. I don't see why not. And I think it'll be better suited for the Nintendo Switch. Now, when I compared this, and the reason why this didn't make the top 10, for one thing, it makes honorable mention because although I love the game, I am enjoying the game, and the more I play it, I enjoy the game. This was not the best wrestling game this year, by far. If you compare it to, and I was really shocked and surprised because I was really thinking that this was going to be the better of the two of 19. I was protesting the hell out of 19. Ironic, only to find out that 19 was the actual complete better game than anything that's ever come out before. And Fire Pro Wrestling, while it is fun and is great and it has all your favorite New Japan Pro Wrestling, which, by the way, I will be playing this hard this week because Wrestle Kingdom 13 is coming out. 2019 is here. All Elite Wrestling's coming. This is going to be if you're a wrestling fan, this is going to be the sickest year for wrestling since the Attitude Era, since the Monday Night Wars. I see this is going to be a hell of a year for wrestling fans going down the line. So this is going to be actually interesting, but I digress. Fire Pro Wrestling is a very fun game. If you played one Fire Pro Wrestling game, you played them all. This one, however, I love because the controls because it's a more updated version. I think the controls are a lot more smoother. The gameplay is a lot more smoother. The play mechanics is much more smoother. The learning curve is much smoother with the Fighting Road version. Just kind of give you somewhat of a understanding of how to play the game properly. And if you played, like I said, if you played all the games prior to, you'll love this. But I love the story mode because they added the New Japan Pro Wrestling aspect to it as well. The problem I had, the negative that I had for this game, surprisingly, is the visuals of this game. I think this is one of those things where, like, a lot of kids that are listening right now won't understand this. A lot of millennials, I guess, won't understand this. But before HD, we had, like, CRL screens and all this stuff. And we had, the Mercury screens and all that. So the resolution was like VHF and all that stuff. You didn't get to see the detail of things. You just saw TV. And when you transition from like the DVD era and the digital era, and then transition over to the HD era, you saw differences. There's an episode of Family Guy at the very beginning where they make fun of this because Peter and the Griffins have to get a new TV because everything's formatting to HD now. So they got to get a new HD TV screen to do it. While they're doing this, Peter and all the guys are all like hot on this, newscaster, this female newscaster, and they're just saying she's smoking hot. And then they get an HD TV, and they see the blemishes and the actual, the blemishes that she has and how unattractive she really is on HD. And this has happened before. When HD first came out, it exposed a lot of things to a lot of people that on TV, and they had to try to filter a lot of things now to make, to accommodate the HD so people won't see the realities of things. This is kind of how Fire Pro Wrestling is. The visuals are a mixed bag because what they did is that, because they now have a more in-depth creative suite than they ever did before, which is, it could be really good if it visually looked good, but there's some mixed matched things going on with the development of this that I don't think that they really could have. I don't think they did it. I don't think it was a good idea for them. Preferably the upper and lower body portion, the chest area and the abdomen area. They allow you to switch the abdomen area with the upper body area, the chest area. I don't think they had to do that per se. I don't know why they felt that they did that, but it doesn't match up because there's some frames. When you look at some of the frames, it changes. There's some discoloration, some changing of the colors. It doesn't match up, and it just doesn't look right. And like, if you try to measure the abs up and everything, you could see it changing up every so often. So it kind of lacks in the quality of the visuals in my case. There also, it looks very smeared like, as far as, it looks like chalk. The texture and the gradations and everything, it looks very smooth like chalk. Like you're doing a chalk art, decor art in the street, sort of kind of like that. It kind of looks like that instead of just having maybe a shell shaded look, which probably would have made it look better. So that's one of the things. It looks like they just went about it a little bit of the wrong way from a design standpoint. With that said, it doesn't take away from the game overall. The game itself is awesome. They did add a lot of great new features. The cage matches is awesome. I love the new cage match because now you can actually ram your opponent to the cage and you could climb out. So I love that. So they have cage matches and death matches in here as well. They still got the MMA faction. The animations are phenomenal. The animations are great. It's just, when you do it the way that they did, and not only at the legs too. The legs too was also a problem with that as well. As far as like when you could, I think it's too much customization where they don't need to customize it too much. I think people would have been satisfied with less customization because I think like lowering the leg width and height, or just leg width, and noticing that it separates from the body, it's really weird to see. And it kind of, from a visual standpoint, makes it look very weird. Like, everything's just like Mr. Potato Head, pretty much. And it kind of loses you almost in some bit. But as you playing along with the game, with your character in Fighting Road, things get better. It becomes more fun to play. The story mode, I do like. It is text heavy, but for some reason I don't mind this particular one. I guess it's just not, the dialogue is not that deep. As far as that, and I do get to see some of my favorite New Japan Pro Wrestling, characters as well, as the Elite in there and the Bullet Club and everything. So it's a good game. I would give this game a B at best, but also an honorable mention for games to play in 2018, especially if you're a wrestling fan. But if you really want a phenomenal wrestling experience, I really hate to say this, but WWE 2K is the one for you. Absolutely the one for you, no doubt. Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition also came out. It was a game that came out already for the Wii U as well as the 3DS, but it wasn't. If you got it for the 3DS, it wasn't the complete version. Well, this one is both the Wii U version and the 3DS version combined, because if you guys remember, the 3DS had some extra things that the Wii U did not have because, they were limited to things. So they kind of gave it both. But the definitive version of Zelda Hyrule Warriors gives you everything from both deals combined in one. So it's kind of like their ultimate edition, if you will. I mean, they say definitive, but it's like literally ultimate edition, much like Super Smash Brothers as well. So you had that. Plus, there were some extra things they added on to that as well. So, again, it was a very fun game. In some cases, I'm still playing that as well from time to time, going back in, because I didn't complete everything out of there. There's so much to unlock in that game as well, too. Just so little time. My last one, because I'm a fan, I'm an otaku, I had to put this out. Fist of the North Star Lost Paradise is not the best game in the world, but if you're a Yakuza fan and a Shenmue fan, but you love Fist of the North Star, this is every one of that rolled up in one. Deep gameplay, new game plus is added to it as well once you beat it. And man, it's a lot of fun. So much more you could do with it. So many unlockable things to do with it. And it's just all else violent. It's just the best thing ever, man. So those are my 5. And now we got to 2019 and there's a lot of games I'm looking forward to. Devil May Cry 5 coming out. Jump Force coming out. Unimusha, like I said, first game I'm going to be playing this year. New game I'm going to be playing this year when it comes out. There's a lot more games coming out this year. We're definitely going to play it. Am I going to beat that good old 70? I don't know. We'll see. We will see, ladies and gentlemen. But that will do it for this edition of the first 2019 A.C.M.G. Presents Talk Time Live Extra Select Start. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Before I even tell you about what this week's show is going to be, I just want to say, people, it's 2019. Let's make it better. Just plain and simple. Let's make it much better than it was before. Let's be more, let's have more community, be more united. Because I'm just tired. There was so much going on in 2018. People have got to be exhausted. There was a post that Cartoon Network Adult Swim put out of saying, looking back at 2018, and it was the scene from Rick and Morty that was, the very beginning. I think it was like the beginning of one episode when they went into the car and from an adventure that they went through, and those two just started screaming, hollering, and crying about what they experienced. That could not have been more definitive of what 2018 has been. And it was just so on point. Everything they said in that one segment and scene, it was just so on point to everything that happened in 2018. I'm praying that we all learn from this and learn to be better with each other. Learn to be more positive with each other, despite what's going on. We hope to see change from all over. Just the country, the government, the presidency, everything. It needs to be a drastic change in morality and ethics, and there's better ways to enjoy life. And it's not from being bitter. It's not from being cynical. It's not from being jaded. If we just reach out, if we allow ourselves to just be brave enough to reach out to each other and trust each other and depend on each other. I'm not trying to be like old, trying to be like an old head or whatever like that, or trying to be real or campy or whatever like that. Shit is real, man. Shit is real. If we keep going like this, the way this world is going, it's fate or fall, man. That's pretty much it. That's pretty much to it. That's all I gotta say about that. But ladies and gentlemen, this Sunday, we did it again. We got our some of our Facebook members, our A.C.M.G. Facebook members, to vote on it, and the A.C.M.G. members have voted on the best of 2018. So we're going to cover what anime, what comic, what movie, what what movie trailer, what comic book TV series has made it as the best of 2018, and see if I actually agree with it. See if not, I put my votes in too. So we'll see what they had to say and whatever, and we'll also find out, what they consider was their best experience as well. So we're going to talk about this as well this Sunday. I may actually have a guest with me this Sunday as well, so stay tuned for that. But we're going to definitely cover it. We're back. It's 2019. Let's make it better, people. So with that said, this is Dak Xavier Josiah saying, learn to let go, live life, and love all things anime, comics, movies, and games. This is A.C.M.G. Presents Talk Time Live. I am out of here, gamers. Talk to you later. This episode of ACMG Presents Talk Time Live is brought to you in part by Viewfinder's Identity Search and Design. Your choice for web design, graphic design, and all multimedia development needs. Visit VFISAD.com and let us bring your vision to reality.